This is our 2005 Subaru WRX, and not a single day after we bought it, it blew up.
Day one's going well.
So I'm curious to what happened. Was it something wrong with our engine? Are Subarus just as fragile as everyone says? Or is James cursed? Could be a little bit of all three of those. Today, I'm gonna put on my detective cap, tear this engine apart, and figure out what killed HiCar.
Thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. Raid is the first game to bring a true console level experience to your phone. Master millions of champion combinations, equip hundreds of artifacts, and use countless tactics as you build your team and develop your champions to battle against the raid bosses, dungeon runs, campaign battles, and PvP arena matches. Check out these two champions that are really cool. The legendary Gentoro of the Shadowkin. He's a very focused champion that does one thing and one thing very well, tearing a single enemy into shreds. And then there's Venus. She's an extremely versatile offensive support champion, putting out some extremely powerful debuffs, literally useful for every battle. And this month is huge for Raid. They just released a brand new faction, the Sylvan Watchers, with some amazing new champions like the Forest Elves, Ents, Druids, and Fays. And if that's not enough, Raid's got a full lineup of events, along with a new season of the Forge Pass, where you can get your hands on some of the most powerful gear the game has ever seen. Plus, Amazon Prime members can get exclusive rewards on Raid right now. So if you're new to Raid, then click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Rector Draft, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here.
So we bought this WRX to modify it. This is the car getting the expensive parts. So before we took this car to the track, we had the engine rebuilt so we could thrash on it without having to worry. We rebuilt it, thrashed on it, and then in less than 200 miles, we had something to worry about. So I was at the track the day this car's engine failed, but the thing is, I got a bad memory and I need some jogging. Swipe. This sounds very different. So in the first clip, you get a little bit of knock. Maybe some piston slap there, but this is a tragedy right here. All right, I think I have an idea. Now, when mechanics talk about engine noises, they'll often talk about top end noise versus bottom end noise. And when we say top end, we're referring to the head of the engine. So that's all the parts above the cylinder. So it's the valve train, including the cams and most of the timing gear. All that stuff, it's constantly rotating or reciprocating. So if it's not adjusted properly or it's damaged, some of it can create some clattering type noises. But all of those top end parts are relatively tiny compared to, say, a piston. Clattering valves sound more like a noisy sewing machine than what we heard in those clips, which leads me to think it's not a top end problem, but a bottom end problem. So all that stuff below the valve train, like the pistons, the cylinders, the connecting rods, the crankshaft, that's the bottom end. Now, one thing important to mention is that this is a boxer engine. And with a boxer engine, the bottom end really is the middle. This engine, also called a horizontally opposed engine, has a crank dead smack in the middle of the block with the pistons moving side to side 180 degrees from each other. And while boxer engines can be reliable and problem-free, these 2.5 liter 4-cylinder EJs tend to have some cooling and oil distribution issues that can lead to some catastrophic failures. And when they get too hot and they don't get lubed up enough, they start making some very distinctive noises. One of those noises is piston slap. That happens when the pistons rock as it moves inside the cylinder, with the bottom or the top edge of the piston slapping the cylinder wall. Now, piston slap happens because of clearances which are too large between the piston rings, and the cylinder. And that can be the result of worn or defective pistons and rings, or deformity caused by improper oiling or excessive heat. Heat can warp stuff, heat can melt stuff, and those clearances can get gapped where they're too big and can cause that piston to rock inside the cylinder. Okay, let's take a look at our first clue, the turbo. Oh my goodness gracious. Now there are a couple of ways that a turbo will fail. One of them is that it's over boosted, so this thing spins too fast, so it can cause some damage. Also, if it's not oiled properly or cooled properly, it can get too hot, it can warp. Or if you suck up anything, and if so any of these fins get damaged, those fins are gonna go into your intake, and that's not good either. So one thing you can do is check the free play in the shaft. So the shaft lifts a little bit when I put some pressure on it in this direction. So that's not good. And then what I can do is wiggle it left or right. So this way. So this much free play in your turbo is not a good thing. You don't want to run this because if this pops, it can create all sorts of problems and headaches. So luckily this didn't fail, but it wouldn't be something that I would run. Why is that worse now? Oh, because I was smacking on it, yeah. Neck! Whether that caused the problem to our engine, I will say no. But one thing we can look at to determine what might have caused it is by looking at the oil. And we have a sample of that oil right here. Oh yeah, that's raw knock. So I sent a sample of our oil to Blackstone Labs, and they specialize in chemical analysis of fluids you find in cars, motorcycles, semis, airplanes, even big old ships. They love looking at your dirty oil. Now, one thing that the analysis will show is if your oil contains any stuff that shouldn't be in there. Specific contaminants like coolant or fuel that'll indicate specific engine problem. Here's what they say. So universal averages show typical wear for an EJ25 after 3,600 miles of use. Well, we didn't have 3,600 miles of use, we had 200 miles, so that's not good. Aluminum, chrome, and iron show cylinder area wears. That's indicating that we're getting some piston ring cylinder damage, right? We also have high amounts of copper, lead, and tin, and all of those are found in the bearings that are inside our engine. If recent work was done, maybe some of the metal and silicone is from wear-in sealers. So when you're rebuilding an engine, you're gonna use some of those things to put it in. But poor wear is a real possibility. Now, one thing to remember is that when you rebuild your engine, there's a break-in period. We didn't do that process. We just took this rebuilt motor with less than 200 miles on it and we just hammered on it. But here's the thing, before we get all crazy, okay, it's time blaming ourselves for not doing the proper break-in procedure. How about I just go get my knuckles dirty and we figure out what's really wrong with this sucker. No damage on that plug, so that's a good sign. So I'm looking at the color of that ceramic piece right there. They all look to be the same. Looking at the tip of the electrode, making sure that's not damaged. No, all those plugs look great. Okay, so that didn't help out. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna poke a camera down in that hole and see if I can find out what's going on. So from what I could tell with our bore scope is that we have scoring in all the cylinders. This bank with cylinders 1 and 3 are much worse than this side, but I don't see any other damage in there. The tops of the pistons look to be fine. From what I can see, the rings seem to look okay. One thing that's interesting is that these bolts still have assembly lube on them. As you can see here, that's that red stuff. So that's how many hours this engine had on it. Okay, let's look at the valves. Those things look pretty good. All the seals are nice, as I would expect. Piston looks pretty good. We didn't see anything, but right here, you can see on this side where it's scored. But nothing that's, you'd look at and be like, oh wow, that's bad. Got a little piece of metal in there. She's a little flake of metal. Okay, so the cylinders look pretty good. The pistons look good. So We gotta go on the inside. I gotta split these cases and get into the bottom end. My big, strong boys. Ooh. These wrist pin bearings, no, so that's where the connecting rod rides. And it looks to be in pretty good shape. I don't see anything on this that would lead me to believe that that's bad. But you know what? We continue into the belly of the beast. That's what she says. All right, let's see what we got here. We got some crust on it. We got, these bearings are all pitted. Lift the whole crank. So when you're checking your rod bearings, what happens is you can put, like the piston obviously is going up and down like this, right? So you can push it up and down. If there's any wiggle in that, that's not good. There will always be a little bit from side to side. That's okay. So if we check this one, check this one, we check this one. But hey, look at this, cylinder 3. We check this one.
Yeah, be excited that we found the culprit.
Woo! You hear that, Jimmy? Does that sound like when you were driving the car? So after a couple hours it took to disassemble this engine down to its core components, I found the culprit, and it is a spun rod bearing. Now, there are a couple of reasons how this could have happened. Now, we were using a rebuilt motor with 0 hours on it. And when you have a rebuilt motor, there's a typical break-in procedure. All the metal components, they need to kind of mold to each other for a while. And in that process, you get a lot of metal shavings in your oil. That's why you're supposed to take it easy on the engine and change your oil pretty frequently for the first couple 100 miles. Well, we didn't do any of that. So my first inclination was, well, maybe we had some of those metal shavings and they clogged up one of our oil passageways and it caused our bearing to not get oil, and then it caused a failure. But here's the thing, I pulled all of these connecting rods off and every single one of these rod bearings has scoring on the bearing itself, which leads me to believe that this was a failure because of oil starvation. Now these EJs are known to have oil starvation problems, and when you're on a racetrack pulling a bunch of G's, that oil's getting sloshed around further away from the pickup point, and you're getting even more oil starvation on places that you really, really need it. And these bearings are little thin pieces of metal. They're the connecting point between your connecting rod and your crank, and when you don't oil them, they get really hot, and when they get really hot, they spin and they misshapen, and they fold over on themselves like this. And another reason I know things got hot is I can actually look at the connecting rods themselves and look at the color of the rod. And they have this bluish red tint to it, which is an indicator that they got really, really hot. So at some point along our track day, this engine was not getting oil onto the places it needed it, and that caused our rod bearing failure. So this is the first EJ engine that we've blown up on HiLow. Is it the last? Thank you guys so much for watching this video and everything else at Donut. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Follow us at Donut Media. Follow me on TikTok at BearMayaJurtin. Heck yeah, I'm on TikTok now. More importantly, just friggin' like yourself and your friends. Bye.